Hello and welcome to another edition of the No Never Football Show and Podcast. This week we were, fingers crossed, on a title party, or were we on a title party? Who knows? We are looking back at the Clarets away trip to Reading to see whether or not they could maintain a push for a points record and whether or not they would claim the title. Without further ado, let's go. So I am joined this week by our resident statistician, Dave Statman-Roberts, who's going to give us all the info that you need in preview of the Clarets' next fixture, which is away at Rotherham midweek. We're also joined by regular analyst Tom Whittaker, who gives us his views from the terraces at Reading. And we may have an opposition view for you. Let's see if we get down there. But first and foremost, Dave, welcome to another episode. It's lovely to have you live again.
Yes, they're coming thick and fast, these episodes, aren't they? We're playing midweek virtually every week at the moment.
We are. And I guess that leads me on to a very important question for you, Dave. How excited are you about the Premier League next season and moving away from this nonsense of Saturday, Tuesday? We're going to have breaks.
That will be a bonus, definitely, yes.
Yes. And can you, at this stage, I'm going to put you on the spot here, can you give our listeners a little bit of a teaser as to what the preview show might look like next year? Or have you not decided yet?
Yeah, I've had a few thoughts. I think perhaps have a bit of a change. I think the long form ones we do, the head-to-head and the memory match, I'm going to perhaps change. I think it might be, on match of the day, they have two good and two bad.
Oh, I like it.
A good match and a bad match. That might be the focus.
Yin and yang. I love it. We've also had a couple of listeners who sent us some emails in asking us what they'd like to see out of the preview show as well. And one of the suggestions was manager watch, having a bit of a focus on the current manager and maybe their backroom staff, see if we've got any history with them and what they are. Yeah, so I think from our perspective, listeners, we are likely to be able to have the luxury next season of an analysis show and a proper preview show. In the Championship, we very much have to merge them together because it's very demanding on our time. But yeah, straight from the horse's mouth on Grand National Weekend. See, it's almost like a rat these days. We will let you know. So stay tuned, and we will give you all the exciting announcements about the preview show next season, which, fingers crossed, will continue to feature Dave Statman-Roberts. Pray with me, listeners. Okay, before we get too excited, let's have a look at that game at the weekend, Dave. In the end, a little bit of an anticlimax. We started the weekend knowing that if Sheffield United dropped some points and we won away at Reading, we would be crowned champions. Yay, exciting. Sheffield United then went one down. Yay! Then they kind of turned it around and ended up beating Cardiff 4-1. So we knew then, going to Reading, that the Championship was out of the question. However, we could still keep pushing to take our opposition's points record. Let's start, before we get into the game itself, Dave, by that team selection. Were you surprised?
Yeah, slightly. The fact that we had so many changes. I mean, you expected maybe there'd be, 2 or 3 changes. The fact there were 6 was quite a lot in one game, and it didn't really pay dividends. I think it was always going to be a little bit difficult to merge that many players in at such short notice, and it showed really to an extent. We did create chances, but didn't have. Well, I think we had 1 on target all game.
Yeah, wasn't slick, was it? It didn't move that well. No. And I think you and I have talked about this a few times as well. We've kind of suffered from that in the league. We had obviously a fantastic FA Cup run, but we did tend to suffer from that in the Cup, didn't we? With some wholesale changes. It's players that don't play regularly enough together, and it very much showed at the weekend. Yeah, for us especially to have so few shots and so few clear-cut chances. And of course, Nathan Teller going off. Have we heard anything about that injury, Dave, since the game finished?
I doubt whether we will for certain until they'll get it checked out properly, won't they? And then we might get a better idea when the pre-match press conference comes about, which I assume will be on Monday sometime.
Sure. not an awful lot to talk about from the game itself, but from a fan perspective, were you disappointed to see our chance to cement a place in history and beat the current points record evaporate in such a bit of an anticlimax?
It was always going to be a big ask. I think with 6 games to play and having to win all 6 of those games would have been a real big ask. And the way it's worked out, we can still equal it. But although, as I say, with 5 games to play, 5 wins is going to be a really big ask. I'm not too hung up on it, to be honest. It's one of those things where, yes, it would be nice to have, but yeah, it's not. I mean, we are going to go above and beyond what we've done previously. 100 points is a marker as well. If we can get to that, the 106 was a very difficult one to get to.
Yeah, but you never know. Equaling it would be really nice, because it would mean if we do equal it, we do take a place in history, and that whenever we talk about the Championship record, it will always be the champion record is currently joint with Reading and Burnley. So, we can still make history this season. It would have been nice. Well, let's get our thoughts. Let's get the thoughts of, sorry, not our thoughts. We're taking credit for somebody else's work. Let's get the thoughts from regular panellist Tom Whittaker, who was at the Madejski yesterday, and here he is giving his assessment of that game.
Hello, Tom here. A few thoughts about the weekend's action. The Reading game, I think probably anticlimax is the word that sums up the day for me. As we're getting up and making our way down, you're thinking, this could be the day we win the title. And then obviously Sheffield United go 1-0 down, you're thinking, here we go. Everyone's getting a bit excited, and then Sheffield United obviously turn it around, batter Cardiff, and you're thinking, well, it's not today. Then I see all the anyone got a spare for Rotherham requests popping up on the feed. Maybe it's going to be there instead. But then the game itself, you see the lineup and you think, well, I was expecting a bit of rotation, but that seems a lot. It seems odd to be playing your second choice keeper. And obviously Kompany said, since it's about looking at players for next season who we're going to keep, I think it's a little bit odd. It's not something you see very often, I don't think. I can understand one or two of them, like churling off Twine, players who we've signed for a decent amount of money but have had injuries and we haven't really seen this season. But if he's not sure about Peacock Farrell by now, I don't understand why he couldn't have had his mind made up about him by now and just played Muric. I think probably 6 was a few too many changes, and it showed in the game really. I think others have said it was kind of like it had sort of an FA Cup feel to it. It was a bit like the Ipswich game, just a few, maybe 1 or 2 too many changes, just lacked a bit of fluency. Having said that, we did control the game. I think Reading were delighted to get a point. Maybe slightly strange from them, given the fact that they probably need a couple of wins from the last few games, and obviously Burnley reserves almost. That it was an opportunity to get it, but they seemed a bit more interested in making sure that we didn't break their record, which is a fantastic achievement, of course it was, but maybe a little bit more focus on the here and now would have helped them as well. It was disappointing, just lacked a bit of tempo, lacked a bit of fluency. Teller going off was a blow as well, of course, and it looked like a hamstring, so I wouldn't be surprised if he missed the run in now, which is a bit of a shame as well. But then it does give you an opportunity to players like Shurlenoff and Twine. I don't think any of the ones who were in, I thought Teller thought Alderkiel was decent, as he always is. Taylor was really good defensively, but without Maatson we just missed that dimension going forward. But I think Reading would just give it to their right winger and pray, and Taylor really boxed him off, so credit to him. We know what he's about. He's another one where you think we don't really need to see him in the last few games. We know what he's about surely by now. But Shurlenoff, Twine and especially Foster didn't really make a good claim, I wouldn't say, for inclusion in the Prem squad next season. You wouldn't be surprised if any or all of them went out on loan next year, really. I'm not sure they're ready to make the step up yet. So disappointing. I think obviously we're all going there with the hope that Goodmanson and Kompany had both mentioned after the Sheffield United game that they were looking at the points record and the way they won that game as well. Obviously it's a difficult game, the promotion's already sealed. I didn't necessarily expect us to play as well as we did and win that quite so comfortably. So I did think they were maybe serious about that, but it's obviously not. They're obviously not that bothered the way they played, and the fact that they made so many changes. And I think Kompany's come out and said now that they want the title, which they're going to get anyway. So It's kind of a shame. It was a bit of an anticlimax after sort of spending the time and money to get down there, but you know, a bit of perspective really. I think if you'd have said to me in August that your biggest complaint in mid-April, having already won the league and needing 3 points or whatever it is, 4 points from the last 5 games to win the title, your biggest complaint is going to be that you haven't broken the record for the most amount of points in a championship season in history, then I would have been very happy with that. So no complaints from me really. Bit of a drab game, but let's just forget it and let's move on to the next one. Rotherham on Tuesday. Hopefully 3 points there, and hopefully a slightly less disjointed performance, let's say. Before I finish, I do want to mention I've been at the Hawthorns today watching Burnley's women's team play West Brom. Thankfully a better game than was served up yesterday at Reading. Burnley took an early lead. West Brom didn't really threaten, but they got a goal back sort of 10 minutes later. Deflected shot, just wrong-footed the keeper, and she couldn't quite keep it out. West Brom, a lot of injuries, stop-start game, and it was difficult to get any kind of pressure or fluency for a lot of it. But Burnley with a better team, and a lovely work goal, Leah Embley crossing the right-hand side, and a volleyed finish at the far post. So a really good 3 points. Nottingham Forest drew with Brighouse, Wolves drew with Derby, and that means that going into the last couple of weeks of the season, if Burnley win both their remaining games at home to Wolves and Liverpool Feds, then we will be in the promotion playoff final, which is Saturday the 20th of May at MK Dons. 2 home games. It's difficult for me to get up there to the Leyland, the ground. I can't remember the ground's called now, Lancashire FA Ground in Leyland. But it will be great, you know, with how big these games are and the fact that we've got the title on the line. It'd be great for people to get down if they can, cheer the ladies on, and hopefully we're in that promotion playoff final, and hopefully promotion to the Women's Championship. Double promotion in one season would be a fantastic achievement for the club. Take care, up the Clarets, and I'll see you at Rotherham.
So now that we've got that game out of the way, Dave, we do know that irrespective, because we didn't lose, we are now 21 games undefeated, which is incredible. Yeah. We've still only lost 2 games all season, and our home record is still intact. We go away to Rotherham on Tuesday knowing that irrespective of what Sheffield United do, a win there and we're champions. That's if I've read the table right, because we will be still 14 points clear, and there'll only be 12 points to play for. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, with the goal difference, yeah, more or less, isn't it? Even if they win.
3, 6, 9. No, because there'll be 14 points and there's only 12 to play for. There'll be. How many games are there left? This is
5.
There's 5 games. So after Reading, there'll only be 4 left.
5 games, yeah.
Oh yeah, 3, 6, 9. Yeah, there'll only be 12, and we'll be 14 clear, won't we?
If we both win.
Yeah.
If we both win, it'll still be 12 with 4 to play. So effectively, we will be mathematically that's the goal difference.
9, 8. So it'll be 94 and 82. 12 points. Yeah, sorry. Listeners, maths has never been my strong point, which is why I'm never going to be an accountant. So let's scrap that. We are pretty much champions if we win again at Rotherham. So let's delve into that and let's preview that game, because that is going to be our exciting preview show focus. But before we do that, you know the drill. We have a quiz question that we need to give you an answer to. Dave, before that Reading game, you asked us the following question. Who was the first player to score a goal for Burnley at Reading's current ground, Madley Stadium, and what was the year? Give us your answer, please, Dave. What was it?
Well, the correct answer was Andy Payton, and he scored our first goal at that ground, which has now got some strange sponsor's name, hasn't it? But it's still the Madley Stadium.
Yeah.
And that was in September 1998. And also, if anyone was listening to the Radio Lancashire commentary that was on yesterday, Glenn Little was the player who made the assist for the goal, and he remembered it well. And he made the point, quite rightly, that Andy Payton was also the first opposition player to score at that stadium, at the Madley, as it had only been opened at the start of the season. And Reading kept, I think they played 2 previous league games and a cup game and kept clean sheets in all those 3. So we were the first opposition team to score. We christened the Madley.
They're good stats. Did we get any quiz stars this week, Dave?
The only one I saw with the correct answer was regular listener Colin Walsh. He was a first-time quizzer. He got in touch via email. So it's the first time he got in touch with a quiz answer. He was born in Burnley, but is now based over in Tennessee, and he's been enjoying coverage this season.
I did see that email. I was very excited when we got an answer in. So yeah, well done, Colin. That was a good answer. Well, let's move on to the first of our features then, looking ahead at the Rotherham game. Dave, are you going to give us, please, your Championship head-to-head?
I am, if I can find it. Hold on.
Ooh. This is not like you, Dave. Don't you be not going off script. Then we can't be handling that.
We're here. Right, there's a total of 16 league seasons where our paths have crossed with Rotherham United. 2 of those were in the basement division, 7 in the 3rd tier, and this is the 7th season in the 2nd tier. So we're going to revisit the previous 6 second tier away games ahead of our midweek trip on Tuesday. Our only away trip to Rotherham at this level in the 1980s was in February 1983. Steve Taylor gave Burnley the lead just before half-time, but Joe McBride levelled the scores just after the break, and the match finished 1-1. That was also the score for our next visit at this level in February 2002, which was a tale of 2 penalties. Gareth Taylor found the net from the spot in the 9th minute, but Mark Robbins did the same when the home side were awarded a penalty of their own just 3 minutes later, and that's the way it stayed. In November 2002, the 2 sides played out a dour goalless draw, and then in May 2004, Burnley turned in a dreadful away performance in a 3-0 defeat in one of Stan Ternant's final matches in charge. No one who went that day, me included, will want to recall that match in any great detail. Our next visit was just a few months later. That was in August 2004 with Steve Cottrell, now in charge of Burnley. And although we kept a clean sheet, we couldn't find a way through at the other end, and it ended goalless. All of those previous matches were played at Millmoor, which leaves one more match played at the New York Stadium, which is also Burnley's only previous away win at this level. Although you're going to have to wait for the details, as that's the subject of our memory match feature this week. So to summarise, in our 6 previous away matches against Rotherham at this level, Burnley have won 1, drawn 4 and lost just once. We've managed 4 goals in those games compared with 6 for the home side.
Oh, you little tease. I do like it when you tease us with memory match stuff. Let's move on then to what is fast becoming our most popular feature, and that is our celebrity fans, where we compile a short list of our opposition's most famous fans and we give them the no nay never score. Now, Dave, I believe you might have had a little bit of struggle with Rotherham. Am I going to scold you for some artistic license this week?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the reaction for the last one to make up the numbers. But shall I give you the
good grief? Yes, let's get going. Come on, who's on the shortlist, Dave?
Okay, number 1, we've got Paul Chuckle, children's entertainer from Chuckle Vision, one remaining living Chuckle brother. Obviously, Barry Chuckle passed away.
Yeah, that's sad. He did.
Otherwise, he would have been on our list as well. But
probably together. You'd have put them like you did the Gallagher brothers, I think.
Well, no, if they're struggling for numbers, they might have been in there separately. Number 2 on our list, we've got Howard Webb, who's a former football referee, and he's obviously still involved in refereeing at the higher level. Number 3 is Dean Andrews. He's an actor. You may remember him from Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes, and he's now in Emmerdale, apparently, which I didn't know, because I didn't watch that.
I don't watch soap operas. No idea.
No. Next on the list is James May, TV presenter and automobile enthusiast. That's the one. He apparently went to school in Rotherham. And there's a little bit of a...
It sounds southern, not northern.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. He definitely went to school in Rotherham. But there's a little bit of a rivalry between him and Clarkson. Jeremy Clarkson's a Doncaster Rovers fan.
Okay.
And obviously the link with... I don't think James May is very much of a Rotherham fan, but again, we were struggling for the numbers this week, as you can tell.
This is not a bad list so far, though, Dave. This is all right.
Number 5 on the list is Chris Wolstenholme, who is the bass guitarist with the band Muse. Again, another Rotherham local. That was number 5. And then, as you can usually tell, just how much we struggle to find the details of the quality of the 6th and final name in our list. And this week's no exception. Number 6 is Jive Bunny. The cartoon rabbit was the brainchild of a couple of DJs from Rotherham who had a string of #1 hits in the UK in the late 1980s and early 1990s.
No, I'm not having that. You set some very clear ground rules about needing to be alive and owners couldn't be counted. Needing to be alive, cartoons are not alive. They are, by very definition, not real. So how are cartoons alive, but deceased borrowers not?
You didn't see the asterisk at the end that said, unless Dave's really struggling for numbers this week.
Honestly, listeners, this is what happens. He just cons me every week. He just changes the rules and I never know what I'm doing. Well, let's score them. I'm going to ignore Jive Bunny. You put this to the team. What sort of reception did you get from Team None and Ever about scoring them?
I don't think I got any answers back this week in terms of the scores.
Oh, what are they playing at? I tell you,
I'm not impressed.
We talk about the Burnley team being on the beach. I think Team None and Ever's absolutely on the beach because they are only... No, they haven't. You're right. They've not... Oh, hang on. No, they haven't. Hey, I'll have a word. Right, down to you and me, Dave. What would you give them? I get to moderate. What would you give them?
I don't think they're going to be in the top half of the table. I think I might give them a generous 4.5. I
think that's tight. I'm going to say 5.5. It's until we got the nonsense that is Jive Bunny in there that's getting discounted. Well, they're all right. You've got Top Gear, Chuckle Brothers, a slightly well-respected Premier League referee. I think that's all right. I'm going to give them 5.5. I overruled Dave, listeners, and congratulations, Rotherham fans. You come in at a lower mid-table 5.5 for your celebrity fans. Dave, let's move on swiftly. You've already teased us. What have you picked for this week's memory match?
For this week's memory match, we're revisiting the away trip to Rotherham from our 2015-2016 promotion season. The match took place on a Friday night. That was the 2nd of October 2015, with coverage broadcast live on Sky Sports. I've been in the away end for the 3-0 defeat at Millmoor in 2004 that we mentioned earlier, but this time I was alongside Burnley FC club commentator Phil Bird in the press box. And Burnley got off to the best possible start inside the first 10 minutes when Ben Mee's header found George Boyd and he chested the ball down, played it through to Andre Gray, who finished with a low shot to make it 1-0 after just 9 minutes. And it stayed that way until 15 minutes before the end, when a speculative shot from Grant Ward beat Tom Heaton and found the top corner of the net from almost 30 yards to level the scores. But as we know, Burnley were made of stern stuff. And up popped Sam Vokes to poke the ball in from the rebound after Scott Arfield's original shot had been saved by Lee Camp. That was in the 81st minute, and Burnley kept it tight for the remainder of the match to record a well-deserved 2-1 away win. Sky Sports gave their man of the match to Joey Barton, who was as busy as ever in midfield. The Burnley Express went with the headlines, "Clarets back to winning ways, Big Sam sinks Reds late on." And the match was also notable for being the first time that Burnley Football Club had trialled its comms cam coverage, with a GoPro camera pointed not at the pitch, but at the commentators in the press box.
And to this day, that is still used. I do love comms cam. It's very, very good. I do like it when people get excited and Papa Bird starts doing his things. Even you get animated when you're on Clarets, player.
I do, yeah. I think we should mention Sam Vokes at this point as well. You're going to tell us about your little chat with Super Sam.
I would, but I need to maintain focus for the rest of it. No, I did. You might have already seen this on social media, but when our promotion was confirmed away at Borough last Friday, on Good Friday, I was lucky enough to be asked to record a podcast with 5 Live, their is it 72 plus podcast?
Daily, is it?
Yeah. And I thought it was just me. It was about a 35-minute podcast. It was really great. But when I was in the virtual green room waiting to go on, the producer whispered in my ear and said, "Oh, we've got a guest on with you tonight. Former Burnley player, Sam Vokes." So it was a very good promotion day for me. And listeners, you'll be very pleased to hear that I managed to hold it together long enough to do something calm. I did. There were a couple of moments that thankfully did not make the final edit where I did get a little bit fangirl. But luckily, the producers saved my blushes and cut them out of the final edit, for which I'm eternally grateful. Okay, Dave, referee. Who have we got, please, in the middle?
Yeah, well, taking charge of our next match in South Yorkshire on Tuesday is West Yorkshire-based referee Bobby Madley, who's from Ossett near Wakefield. Burnley have won just 3 of the 13 past matches of ours which he's taken charge of, and they go all the way back to November 2011. So far this season, his only Burnley match was the 1-1 draw with Hull City at Turf Moor back in August of last year. His past Burnley matches have seen 2 red cards, one to a Burnley player, that was Keith Tracy in 2013, and one to an opposition player, that was Derby County's Chris Martin in 2014. As always, we'll be hoping that he can keep it 11v11 on Tuesday evening.
Yeah, we certainly will. Rotherham, then, Dave, stuck in the bottom of the league for an awful lot this season, looked absolutely dead and buried a few weeks ago, and have seemed to have managed to pull themselves a string of results together and have managed to get themselves away from the bottom 3. Given that we now don't have the points record to go for and the title's pretty much done, are we expecting perhaps a more tougher game than we thought we would do on Tuesday?
I think it'll probably be more of the same, really. I think Vincent Kompany will want to see more of his squad in the remaining games that's left. We don't often have that luxury of being able to do that. I mean, the title isn't confirmed yet, although we are virtually tied on for it, let's say. And I think he's confident enough in the players that he can put a team out that are capable of getting a winning game. So I think he wants to see more of the players who perhaps haven't got as much game time this season, because he needs to build a squad. He needs to be ready for next season. So he's in a luxurious position in some ways to be able to give different players game time and see what they're made of, basically, which we did see to some extent on Saturday. And I guess we'll see not only on Tuesday, but in the remaining games as well. Yeah,
I get that. Assuming that Teller has taken a bit of a knock, then what do you do up front? Do you just start with Obafemi and Foster? I think you're going to have to, aren't you?
That may well be it. Yeah, I mean, obviously you had Scott Twine playing on Saturday as well. Got a look at him. He
looked all right actually yesterday. I'm still confident he's going to be a really key player for us.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a confidence thing. He had a couple of chances, didn't quite get the power behind the shots, tried to place them, and that's so a little bit of a letdown. But yeah, he needs some game time. If he gets a run in the side, then we've got a chance of seeing what he's made of as well as the players who are being brought in and getting a chance at this stage of the season.
I think my worry with Twine, Dave, is that we asked him to step up this season from League One to the Championship, and he's hardly featured in this campaign. Yeah. So to then go essentially from League One to the Premier League is some ask for the lad. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he'll work hard and I'm sure there's talent in there, but generally speaking, I'm not expecting to see Twine be a starter next season. I think he needs, and Kompany will be careful with him. He will look after them. Are we going to be expecting, though, a few more shots on goal and a few more chances than we had maybe away at Reading?
Hopefully. I mean, that'll be something when they do the match review and what's gone on Saturday, that'll be certainly something that will be on their minds and being drilled into the team for, whichever 11 go out there on Tuesday night and try and do the same they did, play the way that they play, but just be a little bit more incisive in that final third, I think, is what they need to do. And I think, you get a goal early on, you get a first half goal, and then you can build on that. If you're always, if you're still at 0-0 like Reading were almost playing it minute by minute or 5 minutes by 5 minutes, saying, well, we're still level.
Yeah.
They went into the game with, we had 75% possession, didn't we? They kind of sat back and let us have possession. They came with a game plan and they were happy to continue that and delight. I mean, the reaction of the fans at the end, it was like they won a cup final, wasn't it?
I think they were worried. Yeah, they wanted to preserve their points record, though, didn't they? The fact that the club tweeted that at the end of it as well just also shows what their focus was on. Do you want to give me a score prediction then, please?
I think we'll win at Rotherham. I think it might be tight, though. I think it might be a 2-1 win.
I love it when Dave doesn't sit on a fence and doesn't do a draw. I'm going to say, I also think it's going to be a tight win, but I'm going to say 1-0 to Burnley. That is my prediction for the game. Listeners, you know the drill by now, please. We want to know what your score predictions is. You can leave a comment on you can tweet us, leave a comment on our Facebook page, leave a comment if you're watching through the YouTube show on our page below, or just grab us at the game and tell us what you think it's going to be. You know where we all are. I think that's it, isn't it? Oh, no. Stat of the week, of course. With this new format, we've only been doing it for like 2 years, Dave, and I still never got used to stat of the week coming after the end of everything else. Please treat our listeners, delve deep into those pockets of yours and give us your miscellaneous stat of the week.
Well, I'm going to confuse you even more by combining it. So I'm going stat of the week, and then I'm going to go straight into a quiz question because they kind of follow on from each other.
Okay. Oh, that's all right. We can do that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Our 0-0 draw at Reading on Saturday extended our unbeaten run in the league to 21 matches, as we've mentioned. That's now just 2 short of the unbeaten run of 23 matches from our Championship title-winning season of 2015-16. Even if we remain unbeaten from now until May, we'll still fall short of the sequence of 30 league games unbeaten from 1920-21, which ended with Burnley becoming champions of England for the first time. The clean sheet at Reading was also our 19th in the league so far this season, although this is not yet a club record, as we still require 2 more clean sheets from our remaining 5 league games to equal the existing club record, or 3 more to beat it, which brings us quite neatly onto this week's quiz question, which also relates to clean sheets.
Oh,
We've just mentioned that Burnley are closing in on the existing club record for the most clean sheets in a league season, which currently stands at 21. But in which season was the current club record set?
that is a tough one. I always think these questions at a specific dates are quite difficult ones. Well, listeners, we've literally just been through this, so you should know by now how you submit your answers. You can tweet it. Well, actually, no, send us a direct message on Twitter, leave a comment on our Facebook page, or you can email us at podcast@nonenever.net. If you are listening to this via the YouTube show, you can leave us a comment, please. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. We have no FPL update at the moment because we're in the middle of a game week. That sounded robotic, did that, Dave? I don't really know what those words were. Some noises came out of my mouth. We have no FPL update for you, listeners, because we're in the middle of a game week. So we are going to leave it there. Godspeed to all fans travelling to Rotherham on Tuesday night. Who knows, we will have one, hopefully, hand on that trophy by the time we finish at 10 p.m. That is all we have time for. Please leave your comments. Please don't forget to subscribe. And we will be back next week with another episode of the No Nay Never Football Show and Podcast. I've been your host, Natalie Bromley. Until next time. The No Nay Never podcast is brought to you in association with the TalkSport Fan Network. Natalie Bromley is the host and editor, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The Analysis Show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Richard Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby, Adam Dennett, and Robbie Kopak. Our music is provided by George Gaskill, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting nonaynever.substack.com. Our thanks as ever go to our partners TalkSport. We are as ever proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.